Now, having said that, this is a long answer, but I want to give you this. I know that there is waste in government. And I know that a lot of services could continue on exactly the way they are if we could only get to the waste. So I get, like every other member of Congress, an allotment to hire staff. I've got great staff, some of them are here. And I get an allotment to do that, and to rent a building here, in a couple of them in our district. We have Marion County, Lake County, and an office here in Orange and Winter Garden. And other things that are necessary to run an office. I don't have to have, in order to spend that money, I don't have to have a vote of the Congress, either the House or 60 votes in the Senate, or a signature of the President. I didn't have to get a vote to turn back my money for my salary either. That was one of the few things I could do that I didn't have to get a vote. Well, I don't have to have a vote in order to spend this money. And I want to tell you that the problem that I see in Washington is this philosophy: if we have it, we spend it. Just because we have it. I determined I wasn't, just because I had it, I wasn't going to spend it. So I was able to turn back almost $500,000 out of that money. You say, well, that's not going to slow down that debt clock too much. No, but it's a picture of the philosophy of Washington. And that is, they really don't need the amount, at least I didn't. I didn't need the amount of money. I could save, counting the extra that was already taken out, because it was reduced under the budget, continuation budget that was done by the House and the Senate and signed by the President. That was about 5%, and then I added another 31, 32%, so about 37%. So almost got to that 40 cents on every dollar. So the money I spent was cash money, not borrowed money. And I wish that could be a picture. I wish it could be a picture for every member. The other members did not do that. I can tell you that. And if every member of Congress and every member of the House and Senate were to do that, but then how about every other agency? Instead of having the philosophy, I've got it, I'll spend it, why not say, maybe we could do more with less? And at least, couldn't we do the same with less? And so, if that were to take place just within the Congress, that's billions of dollars that would be saved. If it took place in the rest of government, it would be hundreds of billions of dollars. And that's just waste. I didn't cut one service. Still sent out all the letters. I didn't do campaign pieces like a lot of the members do, but I sent out letters that people wrote us, and we responded to people, and we gave them our feelings on the issues. And we had a newsletter, we had staff, we worked on constituent work, and I made sure everyone was taken care of that way. And yet, there was a lot of money left over in the end. I would say that's a big, long answer to the fact, isn't it going to be hard to make these cuts? In some ways, yes, because it has a name by it. So having a name by it that just says it's my office, nobody cares. It's not something I could go out and say, do you know that I had to cut this amount of money out of my office? People would say, they'd start booing them and said, I want that money back. But on the other hand, if it's one of the soft spots, and you say, well, we want to cut the waste there, all you have to do is use the title of whatever it is, and people cringe at cutting because they're afraid it's going to reduce the service. But it just has to be done. We can either think about the next election, and if we did, this doesn't bring as many enemies if you stay on this. Or you can think about the next generation. I've got kids, I got 6 kids, I got 7 grandkids, and I don't know that they're going to be affected that much about what happens in the 12 elections, in a sense. What will affect them as they grow older are these two lines. And somehow, some way, we have to get on this line and stay on it in order to help them. So yes, we can think about the next election, and there are a lot of people that do, and you can use those little soft spot issues and do somebody in with them. On the other hand, it doesn't preclude the fact that we have a danger coming. And maybe I'll talk about that if somebody else asks a question, but yeah.
But I've always got the impression that if we could put the government on the same basis that the people are, in terms of benefits and all the rest of that, that you would see a more responsive Congress and a more responsive Senate than you do now. And would, as you just pointed out, with all the perks and the bennies and all the rest of that stuff go on, as an individual, it doesn't make a lot of difference. It's a small amount, but when you total up the sum total of that thing, that's a pretty healthy responsibility. It's hard for me as an individual to look and see what Congress is doing, and they're taking these vacations, they're doing this, and they're doing this. I'm here trying to figure out how I'm going to feed the rest of the family.
I agree with you. That's why I did not take the healthcare benefit.
And I was...
and because it's subsidized. That's why I have not gone on what they call CODELs. Nobody ever talks about those. Nobody. Why? Because they take an equal amount of Republicans and Democrats, and it's like, it's not they're sworn to secrecy, it's just they don't talk about it. So when you fly all around the world and go to all these places to check up, there may be some benefit to that. I don't know. But I'm not going to know because I'm not doing it. It costs millions and millions and millions of dollars to take these trips. And we got enough problems here. There may be problems overseas, and I'm sure, but I'd rather just read about them. I'm not going to go there. So yes, you're right. The idea of this being some sort of guaranteed job, and the only desire is to be reelected to that job and hold on to it. There may be some people, I'm not going to judge anybody's motives, there may be some people like that, but I'm not going to be that person. Yes?
I spent over 20 years in the aerospace business, and occasionally we would have a 10% reduction in the budget. I never hear anything like that coming in terms of the government. When I look back at those 20-some years, we handled those budget reductions. We still accomplished the mission. We went to the moon, we got back safely. We had to lay some people off. We had to learn how to work smarter. Now I read in the paper where we're taking junkets to Mexico, we're going out to Vegas, and I'm thinking, okay, I guess I don't understand that. There's an arrogancy in Washington that's not going over at all well with those of us who are trying to get by every day. I go to fill up my gas tank in the car, and there's a mandatory 10% ethanol. And I'm thinking, wow, why is that ethanol in there? And what is it doing? Well, it's decreasing my gas mileage, and nobody seems to care about any of this. Is there anybody where you guys work that cares about this other than you?
Well, I believe there are people that care about it, and yes, I read the same thing about the government. I can't remember the Vegas clowns and so forth that happened out there. Yeah, I read about it, and there were quite a few people that resigned over that. I hope they don't rehire anybody. We could use the money. I don't even know that office needs to exist. Maybe it does. But the point is this. I'll give you maybe just a little story about one little teeny issue that I'm looking into. And it's only, there was a Government Accountability Office study that was done 8 years ago. They re-upped that study, or at least a part of it, in 2011. So in March of 2011, a little over a year ago, they printed a story about duplicative services in government. And one little piece of that, just one little teeny piece of that, but it's a picture